Hey everyone, this is Kirk here again at Option Alpha, and what I wanted to do on this video is actually not talk about anything charts related, specifically, surprise, surprise, and go over with just you guys as members some of the things that I had privileged to attend a speaking that Andy Bauer put on, who's an economist with the Richmond Federal Reserve, and more importantly, his particular area of niche specialty is not only the metropolitan area of DC, but also national trends. He's one of the senior economic advisors for the Fed. So, pretty interesting speech that he gave yesterday, and I had a chance to go there, took some notes, and wanted to do a video of just some of the things that he covered in this. Again, who knows, if he's right, we're right, somebody else is right. It's all up in the air. But I figured this would be good for members, obviously, and give you guys a little bit of inside scoop. So I'm not going to distribute this to anyone else. This is just for the members, obviously, I guess a perk. So, Andy Bauer. No particular order in the things he went over. It's just my notes that I jotted down for you guys. The first thing he talked about is growth in business investments, and more specifically in equipment and software. So, what he had said is that a lot of the numbers that were coming out had seen that businesses were holding cash, but when it came to the area of equipment, more specifically software, that they were forking out money left and right, almost at rates that are hard to track. So it's clear that most businesses in this at least economic environment are looking for alternative ways to invest their money, to improve efficiency, and software is the number one way. So that's an area that you might want to take a look at. Growth in exports was really huge, and he especially said food. He said with a lot of these countries that are seeing low levels of employment, high unemployment, high debt, food's the first thing to go. And so food is actually becoming a huge, huge export for the US. They revised their growth lower for next year. Big surprise. I think the thing that he had stressed when he was talking about revised growth lower is that he had thought that things were going to pick up. Historically, after most recessions, you see a huge uptick in employment and downtick in unemployment. And all of the leading indicators that usually follow a big recession just have not been there, and in fact have been way off. So we're not even at those levels yet. And so that's why they've revised their growth lower next year. And he was basically saying that he doesn't think there's going to be a double dip, but just a very, very, very slow growth until housing turns around. More importantly, I guess what he was talking about is that most of the jobs that were lost in housing are the jobs that we need back. These are unskilled labor. I guess a vast majority of the jobs that were lost during the last recession are in unskilled labor. And clearly, with businesses only looking to invest in software and technology and that kind of thing, these unskilled labor workers that are out there can only do one thing, and that one thing is housing. And the economy can't turn around unless housing turns around, and we can't, these guys can't. So it's a double edged sword. Pretty interesting point. Something that I honestly haven't even really considered before. I know that housing obviously is a big thing, but hadn't really thought about the workers and their level of skill. So it was a good point that he did bring up. The supply chain distributions from the Middle East, namely with Libya, and Japan with the earthquake, really hurt us more than the media had reported on. This, again, another thing that I think we've all kind of thought about, but he really drove home the point that the last kind of slowdown that we've had here over the last 3 or 4 months has really been virtually caused by none of the Europe stuff, but more of the supply chain distribution kinks from the Middle East and Japan. And that being that, one little tiny factory that gets messed up has such a huge ripple effect throughout the rest of the economy. Almost begs the question that we're almost too interconnected, really. And so you can clearly see how much of a global economy we're definitely in, where just little changes in two countries can have huge, huge impacts here on us at home. So again, another good point that I thought he brought up. I didn't think that anyone else has really covered this in depth, at least that I know of. The percentage of the unemployment, I guess we all know this, but it's worth repeating again. But of the people who are unemployed currently, 47% are unemployed for more than 27 weeks. It's important to note that although he didn't put it on his notes because he didn't want it to be public, He did say that most of their forecasts show that the percentage of unemployment is going to go up to about 60% or so of people who are unemployed for more than 27 weeks. So again, unemployment is going to be sticking around for at least the foreseeable future. The European debt problems. This is actually the last slide, and I actually had a chance to ask him about this. And so got my hand raised, got it up quick, and was actually fortunate enough to ask him a question about this. So my question to him, just so you guys know where I was coming from, was mainly with the problems in Europe and the contagion factor of those bond and equity markets coming over and jumping across the big river here and affecting us in the US. Does he see that any of those are going to have a dramatic impact, and to the point at which the Federal Reserve has run out of tools? And I think that's the big question on everyone's mind, is that if it does come over, that's the first question. What tools does the Fed have left to use? His answer to the second question was quick, and he said, that they are doing the new Operation Twist program, QE1, QE2. Later on, maybe they might do QEs if they need to, but that for all intents and purposes, they're pretty much tapped out on all of the tools that they have in their toolbox to use, which wasn't great, obviously. The thing that he did say that I thought was interesting is that he said the problems with the European debt aren't likely to spread to the U.S. because U.S. banks don't have that big of an exposure to them. And the European Union is actually pretty liquid about what it's going to do should a lot of countries need things. Now, obviously, if everyone goes to hell in a handbasket, then that's a different story. But 1, 2, 3 possible countries start to default, it's fairly manageable, fairly manageable. The risk that he actually talked about was actually in money market funds. And I relate this to subprime. So he was saying that the risk is actually money market funds, which make up a small percentage of all U.S. investments and growth. And what I had said, just to myself, I didn't say this out loud, obviously, but, I thought to myself, this is similar to what happened before in 2007, 2008, where the problem wasn't subprime, which apparently was this small, itty little bitty portion of the economy, just those non-good loans, and, those can be written off, et cetera, et cetera. And so he did mention the fact that if the money market funds do get hit pretty bad with the European debt problems, specifically credit default swap ratios and pricing on those, then that really could have a dramatic effect should things really start to get bad. But for the time being, it doesn't look like it's likely to spread to the U.S. and have as dramatic impact as we all think it would. So possibly, a little bit of a bull market as we head into the end of the year. So hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, please add your comments. Love to get a discussion going on this, and hopefully this was helpful. Again, non-chart related, but as always, adding value just for you guys, the members.